Greetings, my dearest beloved friends. We are going to take summer break, and our last video of this season will be in 2 weeks, on the 17th of May, and then our next video after summer break will be on the 16th of August. But we'll be in touch anyway. Our contact information is posted in the description to this video. I personally check our email twice a week, on Thursdays and Sundays. I work offline most of my time, but I have special time designated for answering your emails those 2 days a week. Also, my Telegram, my WhatsApp accounts. So we can stay in touch. Please always feel free to ask any questions. There are no and never will be any forbidden topics, as usual. And now, finally, it's time for us to open our discussion on our very important step towards the third ring of magic experience in all its power. Our most important achievement within the second ring of magic is our ability to manifest our thoughts, manifest our goals and our desires. Manifestation, materialization, conscious creation of our lives, our realities, all of this became our lifestyle. We realized that we didn't need any external assistance to make things happen in our lives, and that the first ring of magic is not an option at all for us. We don't need somebody else's power to serve somebody else's agenda, no matter how greatly it feels and how powerful we feel. We are not here for a goosebumps experience. We are here to be master creators of our own destiny. And as long as we serve somebody else's interests, there's no chance for us to live our own lives. So, as we set ourselves free from all dependent codependent relationships, now we can manifest our thoughts and desires. The second ring of magic is about power of manifestation. And you can truly create great miracles here just by the power of your thoughts. But there are also some limitations here. That's why the second level is not our final goal, because we want complete freedom, and even slightest limitations are not an option for us. Let's see what kind of limitations we can encounter on the second level. It became available to us as we exited all kinds of dependence and codependence type of interpersonal relationships, where direct manipulation and control was a part of our lives. Unfortunately, a significant number of people on Earth don't know about life beyond manipulation and control. So they keep controlling each other's lives, behaviors, and actions. In so many marriages in the world, for example, there's no chance for marriage partners to make their own independent decisions without the risk of creating issues, because they're initially built on foundation of codependence. Most of the marriages are codependent relationships. Let's tell the truth. That's why it's extremely essential for us at this point to choose rather communications than relationships in all areas of our interpersonal interactions with people. There's a vast difference between communications and relationships. And we will see that in more details during this video. For example, so many psychologists become victims of romantic and sexual dependence on their clients. For one simple reason, they started to build personal relationships with their clients instead of professional communications. We can't enter the full power of the third ring of magic if we still build or maintain relationships type of interactions with others. Even a marriage can be built on communications instead of relationships. And we as masters and way showers for the world want to be perfect examples of building relationships-free marriages and family lives. What does it mean on a practical level? For example, Jill and I are totally emotionally independent of one another. There's no potential for manipulation, for control in our family. Each of us is aware that we can make our personal independent decisions if the matter of decision doesn't affect our specific mutual agreements, that, of course, communications-based married couple can still have. Some of the couples are involved in family business that involves both parties, and there may also be other agreements in some other areas. But in some families, even if one of the parties makes his own independent decision on something minor that doesn't involve the other parties or any mutual agreements, it becomes a matter of family drama, all kinds of negative emotions, anger and rage, because the other party must be punished for not asking permission first before doing something, or purchasing some pair of shoes, or getting involved in some business project with some of his friends that doesn't even slightly affect family life, family agreements. It's more a matter of how dare you do things without asking permission first. It's more a matter of personal ambitions, control, literally claiming ownership of someone. Actually, slavery was done away with in 19th century in both Russia and the United States. Good reminder that humanity in general evolved far beyond that. But non-officially, especially in families and so-called spiritual communities, people or even some spiritual leaders still claim ownership of their so-called followers or adepts, expecting their total commitment and obedience to them. And this happens in our modern 21st century. I'm not joking. I know the examples. But we need to be aware that slavery and the third ring of magic, and even the second ring of magic, are things completely incompatible. If someone follows and obeys someone else, husbands, wives, if employers and employees cultivate master and slave relationships, just obey without questioning, both parties make themselves isolated from their true selves and their boundless power to create and to manifest. There are no winners in this situation. So before we move on to our final short-term goal, the third ring of magic, we need to make sure that we are completely free from all kinds of slaveries, from all kinds of emotional attachments to whomever and whatever it may be. Alchemical spark of creation communications are today's topic. It's interactions of free independent people among themselves, which can be manipulation and control based by default. For example, we, Almin's Russian office, Team Almin Russia, or Team Almin International, we are not spiritual leaders. We are information providers. You take your information from us and forget about us completely. It's all about you and about you only. Who is the most important person in your life? The answer is clear. You. Get everything from us you need to get and use it for your own sake. This is the purpose of existence of Almin's Russian office, her team. We are here for you and not you are here for us. Independence must also be a financial one. We don't cultivate financial dependence or codependence relationships with you. Otherwise, we will not have any power to assist you. We can't tell you what to read, what to study, what to purchase from us. You see what's available, and you always know what exactly you need for your next step of evolution. In order for all of us to win, to be powerful, to be self-sufficient, we all have to be independent. Spiritually, emotionally, physically, and financially. So the masters of the second ring of magic, yes, they made truly great, enormously outstanding achievement. They exited all dependent and codependent relationships and emotional attachments to people. And right after this happened in their lives, they became able to access their divinity, their creative power, power to create, power to manifest. Now their every thought is manifested because they're connected with power. Dependent and codependent people definitely can think technically, but their thoughts are disconnected from power. And that's why they can't manifest. Because power is blocked by dependence, codependence relationships. As they come out of those non-resourceful states of being, immediately they start witnessing the power of their thoughts. Their every thought becomes their reality. The power is enormous, but on the second level, its capacity is still somewhat limited because the second level masters can still experience some degree of attachments. For example, to places and to things. It's a limitation. But it serves the purpose. It motivates to keep honing their manifestation skills. On the second level, they still need to be motivated to do things. On the third level, we don't need motivation. We just know what needs to be done and we do it. We just do it no matter what. We don't have to feel good or feel bad or feel goosebumps or feel anything to do things. But we will talk about it later in more details in our future videos. On the second level, we still want to manifest a trip to some exotic area of the earth, which we may feel somewhat emotionally attached to. If we ask ourselves why we want to travel there, we can't explain it logically. Like, for example, is this some sort of an important business trip or some other intelligent reason why we want to go there? No, it's just because it feels great. So some degree of dependence on feelings and emotions still remains. But as paradoxically as it can be, it doesn't hurt on this particular level. Even on the contrary, it creates an environment conducive to our self-advancement in our ability to manifest our thoughts and intents. And with every new manifestation, we become more and more confident in our ability to manifest whatever needs to be manifested. And we'll definitely need this on the third level, the third ring of magic. And we'll bring it there. So basically, three different rings of magic are three different lifestyles. And when we go from ring to ring, we change our lives. We change our attitudes. We change our habits, our interpersonal interactions. Everything is radically changed. Like, for example, within the first ring, someone used to pray to be dependent on some higher powers to take care of them from non-physical worlds, of course. And it affects their lifestyle. It affects their attempts to communicate with the outside world because it reflects their state of victimhood, helplessness, as if they always try to defend themselves when no one has even slightest intent to attack them, but as if they always expect to be unsafe, to be abused by others. And no wonder why they attract what they fear. Many of them can't keep their jobs, always struggle financially, because their world reflects the state of their consciousness, helpless victim of the circumstances. That's why they often become victims of all kinds of gurus and so-called spiritual leaders, black magic leaders, because if their adepts are expected to depend on them in everything, to follow their commands, instructions, to obey without questioning, then it's black magic by default that always attracts the first ring dependent and codependent people. They always pray to someone, to obey someone, to follow someone. And they're convinced that they must do everything possible and impossible to stay in good relationships with their gurus or with their gods to be sure that everything will be all right with their lives. Otherwise, their black magic guru or god may curse them with karmic consequences and send them to hell. This is the first ring lifestyle in a nutshell. The second ring lifestyle. You are free from all kinds of gurus. You don't depend on anyone. You don't obey anyone. You question everything. Almin once mentioned that if someone wants to slowly kill someone else, and every death starts with death of the soul, and physical part is just logical conclusion of the process. But first, a person must be somehow convinced that he doesn't have a right to critical thinking, to freedom of choice, and freedom of creative self-expression. If this will be successful, then physical death of such a person inevitably happens within the next few years. It's not only about gurus and spiritual black magic communities. The same thing happens within many families of the world. Husbands and wives, parents, children, employees, and the like. Wherever people cultivate relationships instead of communications or networkings, such things happen. The second ring, independence, is still at some risk of creating temporary codependent relationships. The emphasis here at the second ring is your personal independence. You say, I do what I want to do. If I want a romantic adventure, I will get it for as long as I want it. I will have it. And if I want to get out of it, I will surely get out of it whenever I want. Within the third ring of magic, it will be unlikely that you would want to get yourself into codependent or romantic relationships, even temporarily, because here you'll think differently. Just because something just feels good, it doesn't mean that it has a value. Communications, communications. How are they different from traditional relationships? What is communication? Communication is informational exchange between free, independent people. Relationships imply partial or total claim of ownership or control of one another. People care about what others may think about them, and they are always concerned about satisfying other people's expectations. Some people literally try to build all their lives around other people and even perceiving someone else as higher and more important than themselves. Free independent person doesn't even slightly care what other people think about them. And if they're involved together with them in some creative arts or business projects, they will care, but not about whether others like their eyes or the tone of their voice or their face, things like that, but about high quality performance of their part of the contract, their job description or responsibilities. Nothing personal. Everything is only professional. We don't build relationships. We build projects. And our focus is not on others, but on quality of our performance. And we ask ourselves only one question. If we make progress, if we happen to omit something from our set of responsibilities or miss something important, then we immediately do everything necessary to urgently correct this, as we all share collective responsibility if more than one person is involved in the project. And this is how healthy, harmonious communications look like. What's the general reason for communications? Why do you want to communicate? Because you managed to generate and accumulate some information, some resource, or skills that are meant to be shared because they have value not only for you, but for other people, for the world, for humanity, for evolution of mankind. A valuable contribution. You have some priceless information, some skill that's designed to be shared with humanity. Or it's a particular representative, people in your immediate environment, your loved ones, your friends, your colleagues, and whomever your path will cross with. Mostly it's people who are already in your life. And this is what is called the spark of creation, alchemical communications, not relationships, because there is no emotional attachment and not even a partial control over someone else's life, or no someone else's even partial control over your life. There's no such thing here like I can't live without you or you can't live without me. Sometimes a very interesting thing happens. I'm riding in the Moscow subway train and someone else takes a seat next to me. And I don't have a habit of studying passers-by on the streets or fellow subway riders. I'm just sitting there deep in my thoughts, and I just slightly notice someone's special presence here. And suddenly I begin to experience a fresh stream of information, flow of all kinds of creative ideas, as if out of nowhere. And I still don't have the slightest idea who this person is. And now I'm busy with this new information and totally forget about the person. There's absolutely no need to try to connect with such a person to keep him in our lives. It absolutely doesn't mean that this person must be someone special to keep him. We don't force anyone into communications. He just served his purpose. There was some alchemical connection, alchemical spark that happened between us, but we focus on what it produced and not on how it was produced or through whom. Definitely, this few second connection produced what we can call a spark of creation. New creative ideas that may eventually become new tangible reality. That's how Almin used us as her seer stones during the retreats to get new revelations through just placing her hands on our heads. But the condition was that we had to still our inner dialogue so that she could see through us clearly. It's communications, not relationships. We didn't even supposed to talk. There were silent retreats where we didn't talk. We needed to create an alchemical spark of creation environment for Almin so that she would be able to receive revelations that were possible only in that kind of environment. The goal here was not creating a relationship between us and Almin. The goal was to access that special kind of information that's available only in those settings. And she didn't need to keep us forever because the goal was temporary and it was achieved. And for the next retreats, there are new participants, new seer stones, and new revelations. Alchemical people are absolutely replaceable. We don't wear badge. I'm Almin appointment. Almin appointed, Sears stalled, things like that. No, we're needed only for those 5 days of retreat. And did we receive something for ourselves during those days? Absolutely, yes, indeed. It's always a two-way street. But after 5 days, no emotional attachments remained, no relationships. I worked with Almin side by side in Russia during her 2 Russian years, and we spent thousands and thousands of hours in our collaboration. I received enormous amounts of information, which I still process. Now it's already more than 10 years since that time, and I'm committed to release this information step by step to our light family, including through these videos. But there was not even slightest potential for development of emotionally based personal relationships. We could interact without cultivating emotional closeness. And to be able to keep working with this information productively, there is no need to maintain personal relationships with Almin or with Team Almin Russia or with whomever. We interacted for 4 years with Almin. It served its purpose. And when Almin said that she wanted to keep her office in Russia and remain in a role of an absent partner, it was absolutely natural. Currently, I don't need any new information because I still process what I got during those years, 2012, 13, and 14. And about 80% of it still unprocessed. What I mean by processing is its application, learning how to apply it in my practical life. And sometimes it takes several years to integrate something like my being is my sustenance. Seems like very simple truth. My being is my sustenance. And to be honest with you, I'm still learning to live it in its fullness. Sometimes our Russian life family surprises me when they ask if there is anything new from Almin. And I ask them if they already learned to use Hakulit, Kivesta, the runes, and some of them even forgot about those tools at all, and they ask for something new. So it seems like they live on adrenaline instead of systematically, meticulously learning and integrating sacred knowledge and tools and measuring their progress. Like, for example, Almin Center in the city of Donetsk developed a 3-year program, 3-year system of deep integration of just two Almin's online courses, Atlantean Angels and Lemurian Angels courses. And during 3 years, students have to work daily, 7 days a week, learning the ways to learn and apply those truths in their personal practical life situations under the supervision of their facilitator, Olga Cherenichenko from Donetsk. And they learn how to stay alive and to even thrive, regardless of missile explosions and constant bombings at where they are, right in the midst of Russia-Ukraine combat zone. And this is the way they also study other parts of Almin's work. We understand that the eternity will not be enough to study and truly integrate what we already have. Recently, I was asked if alchemical spark of creation communications can only be for brief moments or short periods of time, and how to avoid relationships building if they last for many years or even decades. Well, Almin and I worked together in Russia 2 years side by side, physically, and many more years remotely. And we managed not to build emotion-based codependent relationships. Codependence is the ties that bind. We'll all understand that. And when we are bound by the ties of relationships, we are powerless. And it's contrary to Almin's purpose to help us become self-governed, self-sovereign, and self-sufficient masters of our own lives. And sovereign masters can communicate with other sovereign masters and to contribute some valuables to each other's lives and staying absolutely free from one another at the same time. The alchemical communications can't exist within hierarchy-based systems. We are all equal. Here we understand and respect each other's equality. We naturally treat others as equals and allow others to treat us as their equals. Although we can't interact alchemically with all people in the world, the alchemical communication often appear as if out of nowhere. Our attention is not on people. We don't force them. They just happen. And our attention is not on people whom we communicate alchemically with. We are not after people. We are after the spark of creation. Those kind of interactions generate fresh insights, fresh ideas, fresh revelations from the infinite. And it's not only information, it's also some new doors opening, new horizons, some new opportunities for self-expression. What happens next doesn't necessarily involve uh, those alchemical people that we interact with. We can find ourselves in totally different circumstances with totally different people, and alchemy happens again, producing more new things. We never step into the same river of life two times. It's always flowing. People come, people go, but we remain free, independent, non attached. Here, there can't be any disappointments, betrayals, breakups, and things like that. To become disappointed, we need to have long term plans with people, like expecting others to remain with us forever, which is unrealistic within the alchemical communications because they're not relationships. People stay in our lives as long as they need to stay. A few hours, few days, few years, it doesn't matter. As long as alchemy is in action. And we all know when such communications or collaborations are no longer needed, no longer working, we can see what's working, what's not. Um, well, we can detect that. Like, for example, we see that they stopped producing new creations, new ideas, new possibilities. And because our lives here are no longer emotion based, there's no potential for emotional attachments. So there are no such things as betrayals. If there's a time for someone to go away, they go away, and we let them go away. And we don't break up with people for a simple reason. We have never been bound to them, and they've never been bound to us, so there's nothing to break here. Before we move on, in our next video, it would be very practical for us to take a look at our lives and to see if we still tend to cultivate relationships with people instead of communications. Do we still want to keep some people in our lives for no reason, just because we feel good with them and they make us happy? We're not monkeys. For the monkeys, their purpose of life is to feel good, get high, and make themselves and others happy. We are the masters, the highly intelligent beings, and we are able to see, to know, and to give clear and detailed explanations why we do what we do, why we communicate with those with whom we communicate, and what are the measurable results of those communications. Do we still experience sparks of creation with those people? Are we growing together with them? Are there tangible signs of our progress? Alchemical spark of creation communications always generate measurable progress. They're never dead weight. We can go through our phone books, our contact lists, and see who we can delete if they no longer generate our progress, if there's no divine spark generated in our midst, and whom we still keep because together we generate sparks after sparks of new creations, new business opportunities, new working ideas that can bring life to new levels of progress and many other wonderful things that those sparks can create. Talk to you soon in 2 weeks. Much love and respect to you.